All right, folks, we've got our special guest on here, Omar Navarro. Omar, how the heck are you doing, man?
Good, man. I've just been busy lately.
The video that you posted about you making a trip to visit Maxine Waters.
Yeah, it's funny because 2 years ago when I first announced that I was running against her back in the last election, I decided to go in front of her house with the mariachi band. And it was really interesting that I did that, but I did it because I was trying to bring back family values to the 43rd district, and mariachis represented family values. The kind of music they play now in Mexico is trash, to be honest with you, and it talks about the cartels, it glorifies drug dealers. It's like glorified rap music in Spanish. And the mariachis represented the traditional family values of Mexicans. And the majority of my district is Mexican descent. So that's why I kind of went out there in front of Maxine Waters' house with wanting to represent family values.
Wow, that's awesome. I lived in Southern California for 10 years, and my wife is of Hispanic descent. And yes, in Southern California, or South Central, if you will, mariachi bands play throughout the week and the weekends. Whether it be at a quinceañera or a baptism or whatever, there's always a mariachi band somewhere playing. And you're right, though. They're big families. They get together. I mean, it's like a big gathering of families and children and dads and moms.
Yeah, they believe in hard work. They believe that, that they should, create something out of themselves and have a business and stuff like that. They don't believe in handouts. And the Democrats have completely hijacked Latinos in the community, and they have taken them and they've completely gotten them on addiction of the handout. And that's a problem that's going on right now with a lot of younger Latinos. They're becoming reliant on the handouts, and that's a problem that's going on all over California. But we have to change that. We have to change that mindset. Our grandparents were not like this. Our grandparents were hard workers. They took 3 jobs if they needed to. They never took a handout. They kept their held up high. And they were proud to be Americans and to work hard in this country and to come here legally, not illegally. They come here to the front door, not the back door.
Well, I was going to say, Omar, I've got to get a brutally honest answer out of you. I know it's tough because of the district that you live in, so tough. But are we really making headway when it comes to the Hispanic American vote in California, or just the whole entire population there? It just seems like it's so overwhelmingly liberal Democrat voting. Are we making headway there? Because I would love to see it go back to how it was during the Reagan era and actually win the state.
I totally see a lot of differences. I mean, during Reagan, also during Bush, too. Bush had 78% of the Hispanic population that voted for him. But there's a lot of changes that have happened, obviously, with Trump being a little bit tougher on immigration, and then the left using him. I believe the left has made Trump to be this racist. When Trump's only concerned about our country, is concerned about the affairs here, they want to create jobs here in our country. The people that live here that came here legally want the same things that Trump talks about. But the left, watch what happens on Telemundo, on Univision. You listen to what they're saying, they're making Trump sound like he's some racist. So at the end of the day, we have to change the mindsets of people. We have to go on Spanish TV. We have to go on Spanish radio. We have to bring it to them. Because if there are no conservatives, and there are not a lot of conservatives out there, if any that are going out there besides me, going out there talking on Spanish radio, Spanish TV, and actually changing the mindset of people, challenging other people to think differently. They're like, look, this is what Trump's doing. He's bringing jobs to our country. Are you unemployed? These are the things. Hispanic people want to work. They want to become rich. They want to be successful in this country. They don't want to take a handout. And that's what we have to share with them, is that they share the same values as Republicans. They're no different.
Yep, and I understand exactly what you're saying because for about 8 of the 10 years I spent in Southern California and South Central, down there in Southgate, with my wife, whose family is Hispanic, and I learned all those things that her dad, how hard of a worker he was, how her mom just always constantly never really got rich, if you will, but always just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Her sister's always working hard, and we're talking not Gen Z, but the millennial generation, where they're hardworking. My wife is hardworking. She loves to work. And speaking about Jorge Ramos and Univision, my wife was shocked to find out how bad Jorge Ramos is because she grew up with him her entire life. And on a side note, apparently Jorge Ramos is getting a taste of his own medicine. Him and his crew detained by the Maduro regime.
Jorge Ramos is the type of guy that's feeding people a bunch of bullshit, to be honest with you.
Right.
And I'm tired of it. And I'm seriously just like watching these people just lie to the Latino community. And again, these are the same people that are killing babies. They are killing babies on a day-to-day basis. And traditionally, Latinos are not for baby killers.
Right. No, absolutely. You're correct.
You got to call them baby killers because that's what they are. These are the same people that want Satanists to reach children. On Michelle Obama in Long Beach, the Michelle Obama Library in Long Beach had a drag queen story hour.
That's
where
right.
They had demonic drag queens reading to young kids from the ages of 3 to 7.
I remember
Are you
that.
okay with your child from 3 to 7 to be read by a demonic drag queen? It's not just the drag queen part; it's the demonic part that I have a problem with. I see a big issue on there where they're trying to sell this agenda, where they're trying to take Christianity out of the schools, but yet they're trying to put these demons in. And I think that we got to stop that. We got to stop this level of thinking in the schools where they're making these kids, they're desensitizing them. They're making them think that this way of living is okay when it's not okay. It's not okay.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine just the other day that I hadn't seen in a while, but he follows me on Facebook, and we haven't even talked in a while. But he's a father of a wrestler. I've been coaching wrestling for many years.
I used to wrestle in high school for 4 years.
There you go.
Solid.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I've been coaching it for almost 20 years now. And this gentleman's son is now already graduated. So you can imagine how long I've known this guy. And he is a black man. And he said, "Hey, Kerry, come over here. And I go over to him and say, "Hey, long time no see." And we shake hands and everything like that. And he said, "So I know you support Trump." And I was like, "Oh gosh, where's this going?" And because I've seen his posts on Facebook, it seems like he's very left-leaning, Democrat-supporting, Trump-hating type of person. And he just points out to me, he said, "Kerry, I've known you for a long time, and I've never known you to be a racist. So I'm really surprised that you support Trump. Do you still support him?" I would like to ask you, Omar, how would you react to somebody coming up to you like that? Because obviously this guy's talking about stuff that he's learned from the mainstream media, which are basically
so I'll give you an
lies.
example from when I've heard from my family. I'll give you an example. I had a cousin of mine who came up to me and was like, "How can you support this racist?"
Right.
I mean, you're a part of the problem. You are a racist because you believe in what he believes in. This is my own family member calling me a racist because I am siding with the policies of Trump and everything. I'm telling him, look, you yourself are agreeing with racism because the Democrats have destroyed the Latino community. They have not only destroyed the Latino community, they have destroyed the black community and every minority community. They want every minority community to take a handout instead of lifting themselves up and working hard for themselves. They are taking away the traditional values of Latinos and they are giving them this handout and they are eating this handout like vampires. And this is a problem. We got to stop this handout and we got to have them remember that they came here to work and to think for themselves and to have businesses. This is what we need in our country. We need to have people that think like entrepreneurs. People that come from different countries, they necessarily do, if depending on their circumstances. Like, I'll give you an example. I've seen people that come here illegally, for example, right? But when they come here illegally, what happens is they learn how to abuse the system in this country so that way they can get all these handouts, right? But when someone comes through the legal process, their merit is to actually work hard in the country and to actually get something done, not take any handouts. So the problem is that you have all these people that are coming in, a mixture of both, and then you have these ideas and these influences on both sides, right? They both have kids, and then they go to school, they mix together, and they don't really have an identity at some point. But then you still have the traditional older Latinos that have that same mentality where, like, one side did things right, the other side did things wrong. And, by the way, when you do things wrong, it costs just as much, if not more money to come through the back door.
Yes.
So I don't see the reason to actually come here illegally when you could pay to come here the right way. If you have the money to come illegally, then you should have the money to come here through the legal process. So what I see right now is a cop-out for people to do that. They just don't want to wait the time, and they just want to go through the back door right away. They want to go right away. And guess what happens when you rush into things? You make mistakes.
Right.
So you have to take your time when you do something.
Instant gratification. I've told the story before, and it's been a while, though. I had a shop in South Central down there in Linwood. And And
I know Linwood.
and a
You know,
guy
there's some Trump supporters on that city council in Linwood.
get out of Dodge. Wow.
So let me give you an example. I was doing so I got invited, and I'm around Democrats. I help out whatever I can, even on their side if they're giving out like backpacks to kids in neighborhoods and stuff. So if they ask me to volunteer, I will volunteer and I will help out. So I was at Linwood, and I was handing out backpacks to kids, and it's a recreational center, and I was helping them with my time. And what happened was I had this city councilman that approached me, and he told me like, "Hey, so-and-so mayor said he saw you here in Linwood. What are you doing here, Omar?" And I was like, "Wait, how do you know me?" And I was like, "Well, we follow you on Facebook." And I was like, "We're actually Trump supporters. We don't want anybody to know that we are."
Oh.
And so I'm like, "So you have a mayor and a city council member in Linwood that are based." And I mean, so that's, and they're hiding who they are, which I don't think they should be hiding who they are. They should be talking about who they are, expressing who they are, and why they are Republicans, why they support Trump. See, that's what I told them. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't hide who you are. Because the people that I was with, they know that I'm a vocal Trump supporter, but yet they invited me over because they know that I care about the community. They know that I actually want to be out there making a difference. Hey, Maxine Waters is not out there giving out backpacks or feeding the homeless. You know, I'm the one that's going out there doing these things. Are they going to turn me down? No, they're not. They're going to see that I'm leading by example. So at the end of the day, when you go out there, whether you're a Republican or whatever side you're on, if people see that you're taking action and you're leading by example, they're going to follow, and they're going to allow you to be a part of their community. Absolutely correct.
And the Hispanic community that I saw, even in the bad areas of Linwood and Compton, well, now El Compton, because it's pretty much all Hispanic.
And Compton's changed a lot demographically also. Right. If you look at Compton now, it's changed in a big way. It's not like Compton used to be a really nice community, and then it went and it got destroyed because of the broken windows theory, right?
Right.
But now it's actually changing. It's gotten a lot better. It's actually, they took out the sheriffs, which was corrupt, and now they're doing a lot better now in Compton.
Right. But the Hispanic community in general are caring, giving individuals. They're not this not like a lot of the other communities that I'd seen when out there in LA. A lot of the whites, a lot of the older folks, they don't look at you, they don't talk to you, they stay by themselves, they stay away from themselves, don't know their neighbors, don't want to know their neighbors. In the Hispanic community, from what I saw, was somebody would buy a house on that street, and then as soon as another house came up for sale, they would tell their friends or their family, "Hey, there's a house right next to me." And you would see this commonly happen where people would be up and down a street and they knew other family members or friends and families that had moved in. Big parties, big get-togethers, big family values. Christian too, whether Catholic.
A lot of times those families in those communities are not going to want some jerk to go in their community and throw cigarettes on the floor or go throw trash all over the floor. They're going to watch them clearly and say, "Hey, pick that shit up." You know, like that's what's going to happen. We got to hold people accountable. There was a time in our country where, let's go back to our times to our grandparents. If I was a kid that was acting up, right, then our neighbor would grab me by the ear and take me back home and say, "Look, so-and-so is doing this." But now, guess what happens? If someone does that, automatically they're in jail. So that's why we created a culture of being taken advantage of. Basically, we're allowing kids to get away with anything these days.
Right.
We're allowing generations to get away with a lot of stuff.
Right. And my sister's a high school teacher, and she is rules forbade her from ever intervening in a fight. She's got a panic button underneath her desk so that the security or the police can show up. And it's absolute insanity when it comes to the teaching of the children, without a doubt.
So what do we have going on with you in 2020, Omar? Are you going to be running again, and where at, and how is this going to pan out for you?
Well, first I want to cover actually the time that I went to actually Maxine Waters' office.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know, that was for me, that was interesting that I went to Maxine Waters' office, and when I went into her office, I didn't expect to see the level of kind of resentment that I've seen from their side, because again, the people that are working for her are relatives of hers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have thought about that. Mm-mm. Some of those people that work there, her granddaughter's working there. Her daughter works for her campaign. Her grandson works for her. So, I mean, Maxine Waters has a lot of her family members that are working for her in her office. So, I mean, these are people that are obviously emotionally invested in Maxine. So they're going to take anything personal, especially I went over her house the first time with the mariachi band. And then I went to her house. I went to her office in Inglewood, California. I went inside asking for a debate. And now the second time around, I'm going to D.C. and I'm taking it straight to her. And yes, I will be running again in 2020 because there was a lot of things that I didn't do the first time that I could do this time. We raised the $1.2 million. We did really well. We had a lot of support, a lot of great endorsements. But $1.2 million, to be honest with you, is not a lot of money to go into that district and actually campaign. A lot of people need to realize that it takes a substantial amount of money to campaign, to do direct mail, TV advertising, to do billboards. Some billboards cost up to $25,000 per week to advertise. And people need to understand there's a huge cost into campaigning. And if people don't know who you are in the community, then how are you supposed to get your name out there? How are you supposed to compete against someone like Maxine Waters? Republicans can win, but they have to try. And they have to go in there and they have to take some action. And that's what I did last time, and I will continue to do that. That's why I need people to donate, and I need their support.
Absolutely. And folks, if you look down at the bottom of the screen, there's Omar's handle on Twitter, as well as for those of you listening audio through iHeartRadio, just scroll down to the bottom of the show notes. I've got links for Omar to be able to catch up with him, whether it be on Twitter, YouTube, and do you, your website?
Yeah, my website's omarnavarro.com or defeatmaxine.com.
Okay, so look in the show notes. All the links will be in the show notes.
Awesome. And we thank you so much for coming on. And definitely you want to keep us abreast on your progress and make sure everybody keeps hearing about you. So you're absolutely welcome to come on anytime you want. Just let us know.
Much love, brothers.
All right. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Omar Navarro. Awesome.
Wow, what an incredible interview. Man, he's got energy.
Oh yeah, and
he's
that's the
got
thing.
energy.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing that's going to help you win when you're out there campaigning on the ground in face to face with your constituency or potential voters. You've got to be able to have the answers and have them quick and be able to rattle these things off, the facts, and just be able to answer the tough questions in the way it was. I was taken off guard by my friend that came up to me that I hadn't seen in a while, but I knew very well for many, many years of coaching, who said, I didn't know you were racist.
So he's in, what you're saying he's, because this happened just last weekend.
Yeah.
So he's in, what, his 20s, like 25, 30?
Oh, no, he's
20?
the father of a.
Father of the kid.
Yeah. Well, technically, grandfather, but he was, if he's not already in his 60s, he's probably in his 60s.
Man.
It's grandfather. So he's doing pretty well for somebody that's in his 70s. So I'm going to guess probably mid 60s.
That's insane. That's crazy.
But it was just funny the way he was like, gosh, I didn't know you were a racist. Right. So it's like a given that you're a racist if you support Trump. But you could tell by the way he was talking and the way he was looking at me and the way he was just the whole entire conversation that he was in massive conflict in his head because he wouldn't accept that I was a racist.
Right.
But here I am supporting Trump. And his first question was, after all this time, do you still support him? Really? Still? Like, I get that you voted for him and that you support him at one time, but here we are 2.5 years in, you still support him? Because I know you're not a racist.
Right.
So at this point, you have to be like, oh, damn. Now that I know that I have to be a racist to support him, I guess I can't support him. So it's just interesting to see Omar Navarro just blow it up. You know, when somebody, a family member stepped to him about supporting Trump and having to be racist to do so, and he just blew it up, just rattled off all the things that show or call into question whether or not Trump really is a racist. And it does. How could he do the things that he does? You know, for years, we had Republican candidates for president, national candidates for president, who would not dare. They did not have the courage to show up at like a black church or NAACP meeting or convention or something like that. They just wouldn't do it. They'd be like, oh my gosh,
I might be called racist.
Imagine how much I'll be sweating just being there and knowing that people are looking at me at the white guy. No, Trump just goes right in there and says,
he
so
owns
what?
It. He owns it.
What can I do for you? What problems can you show me that I potentially can solve? And he's totally comfortable. Why? Because he's not a racist. It's as simple as that. So
Absolutely.
that's what you have to know. And you have to tell people that. Don't buy into the false premise that either A, Donald Trump is a racist in any way, shape, or form, or that you have to be a racist in order to support him. Don't buy into that narrative, that false premise. It is false. It is a false premise, and you should just instantly reject it right off the bat. I would even start off your response to somebody stepping to you that way is in a very polite way. Say, well, first of all, I reject the premise that I have to be a racist in order to support Trump, and I reject the notion that he's a racist. Can you give me examples? And they may have some off the top of their head. Most of the time, you have these conversations. Even if they thought they read somewhere the proof that he's a racist, they can't remember it off the top of their head. But if they do, you just listen to it, let them finish, and then while they're talking, kind of come up with the response to it. But we know he's not a racist, so Truth is on your side.
Yes, absolutely, and that's the name of the game. That's what they play all the time, call you racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. It's in the playbook of the Democrat Party, given to them by Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. Folks, they're just using the same old playbook over and over and over again. And again, Omar going to Omar going to Maxine Waters' office to call her out as why are you supporting and part of the Communist Party? Why are you part of the Communist Party? Folks, it is unbelievable. We've interviewed Trevor Loudon twice. Trevor Loudon, the author of the book, Enemies Within. There's also a video. I believe it's free on YouTube now, but you can see the documentary where he documents all the communist sympathizers, communists that take money that are in our government. And there's Republicans as well.
And I consider myself a Cold War expert, historian, if you will. And I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, he writes the book on it, right?
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because he's a New Zealand citizen. So it's interesting to see a non-U.S. citizen just know so much more than a vast majority of U.S. citizens.
Dinesh D'Souza. I'm embarrassed about how much he knows more about the founding of our country than I do.
And both of those guys were able to do it not only just from their own hard work or for their own research, but without the handicap of having gone through the indoctrination of our propaganda system we call the Department of Education. We have to overcome the damage that they do to our brains, because once you go through it, you accept it as fact, and it's hard to reject that. Whereas somebody from India or from New Zealand who's like, all right, let me find out what the story is. What's the history behind the founding of America? What's it all about? They don't have the handicap of having to overcome the propaganda that we went through. So it's unfortunate, but that's why we need to fight the Department of Education, which is another story, but always keep that in mind when you're listening to Smyth Radio.
Right, absolutely. Alan West calls out 80 different House Democrats that are part of the Communist Party. And in Trevor Loudon's book, Barack Obama and the Enemies Within, Obama raised communist by, it's my personal opinion, that I honestly believe that Barack Obama was born in America somewhere.
Okay.
And his father was, because he's the late father, Frank Marshal Davies was Barack Obama's father, if not true father. He was certainly his surrogate.
Oh, at the very least, he was the father figure in his life at minimum. But a case is made that he was his biological father. But is it even relevant? Is it even important when we know that he had such a big part of his upbringing?
It does show and expose the Democrats for going to whatever lengths. They don't do it anymore. Now they're embracing socialism and whatnot. But before, I mean, I'm only talking about 8 to 10 years ago, they wanted to absolutely hide the fact that Barack Obama was a red diaper baby. A flaming
look that
communist.
Up. For those of you new to the show, look up Red Diaper Baby. apparently that was exactly what Barack Obama was, and that was a thing. That was a thing, not just for Barack Obama, but for anybody who was a communist member back then who wanted to, who had a child. If you had a child back then and you were a communist, they had a little group called the Red Diaper Babies where they were raising the children to be communists from birth. And there you go. That was Barack Obama was a part of that.
Right. And Trevor Loudon, he documents how the Communist Party of the USA itself had adopted a stealth plan back in the 70s to infiltrate the Democrat Party and then move forward and take over. What we're now seeing, back in the 70s, they started this, and we're now seeing that the Democrat Party, in 40 years, 45, 50 years, has now become full-blown communist-supported, communist bought and paid for in less than 50 years. And if you think 50 years is a long time, that's nothing to communists. That's nothing to the evils that wish to do others harm. They will keep trying and trying and trying and not stop.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just out of boredom a couple of weeks ago, I think it might have been CNN. CNN does documentaries, believe it or not, and they'll play it when they can't play the news because they have nothing to say because they're done lying for the day. And so I'm giving them credit, even though I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. But they did the story of Patty Hearst. And I knew she was kidnapped, and I knew the controversy of her having Stockholm syndrome. Where they kidnapped her, and she's the granddaughter of the famous William Randolph Hearst. Okay. But they kidnapped her. They were looking for her, and all of a sudden there were these bank robberies out west in California, where she's on surveillance camera engaging in the actual bank robbery, holding a gun and everything. And holding up the bank with her kidnapper. So there was a lot of controversy over the kidnapping. But the reason I bring that up right now is because it was the Symbionese Liberation Army, which is a far-left terrorist organization, basically communists, who were trying to push a left-wing agenda. We're talking 70s here.
Right.
This is a big group in the 70s. And when I mean terrorists, I mean they had a full-blown war going on in L.A. while they had Patty Hearst in captivity, and she was a part of that. It's a miracle she even survived it because a whole bunch of them were killed in a giant shootout. You got to see that documentary. So, it was mind-blowing.
So according to Wikipedia, she was commuted. Her prison sentence was commuted by Jimmy Carter. Yeah. And later pardoned by Clinton.
Basically, she had fully joined the Symbionese Liberation Army. She had fully engaged in all of their terroristic activities, some of which resulted in the deaths of a lot of people, including cops, which is obviously super bad. Not only did she get off, but some of the leaders of the people that kidnapped her and engaged in the worst of the worst terrorist acts back then, they're free. They were being interviewed and I'm sitting here thinking, wow, did they pull them out and put them in a nice living room out of prison?
Because when you're interviewed in prison, you got the jumpsuit on and you're in a prison room.
They were in regular clothes. They were in a regular living room. And I'm watching like, how is this guy in this situation being interviewed for this documentary? Turns out they were just all let go. Nobody saw justice for any of that stuff.
Rules only apply to people who abide by them. Rules only apply. Laws only apply to people who abide by them and people who don't have connection. Like the story that you brought up where you were driving the motorcade for Trump. And after that was over, you were to deliver a guy to a place. And he said, no, light it up, man.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to get a ticket. He's like, no, man, I know Kasich. It's all good.
And this stuff is all connected. The SLA, Symbionese Liberation Army, the SLA, they were based out of Berkeley. And it was this whole thing in Berkeley that a lot of these people that were in that terrorist group, they were in that group, physically in it, are now professors at Berkeley University.
See, that's total insanity.
They are actually there teaching young minds in Berkeley. This is the reason why you have just flat out assaults on camera. They don't even care that they're being recorded on live Periscope.
Right.
They just get sucker punched. They got the bike locks, all this kind of stuff, riots that break out. Some of these people may either be in leadership or actually in the police department, which is why they stood down and not only allowed the rioting, but basically provided security for the rioters during these riots of Trump rallies and stuff like that. So it all comes together. It's all there. It's all connected, and you need to know this stuff. I'm so glad I watched that documentary. It was just about Patty Hearst. Turns out it was about the genealogy of leftist terrorism today.
Oh, absolutely.
Flat out.
Absolutely. Weather underground movement.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Yeah.
All of that.
the guy that headed that up, he's free.
Oh, yeah.
They're all free.
He's at a university too.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, these are the people that you send your kids to go get indoctrinated by. Actual real life terrorists.
Right.
Who actually, I'm not talking about people that joined, like an ISIS bride or something like that. I'm talking they founded and conducted terrorist activities back in the 70s, domestic terrorism.
Right,
so
absolutely. Anyway. So senators who have connections to communism or are paid for by communist, the organization Democrat Socialists of America, total communist front. Senators Barbara Boxer, Dick Durbin, Tom Harkin, Barbara
Mikulski?
Barbara Mikulski, Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey, Debbie Stabenow, Al Franken, Sherrod Brown, Rod Wyden, Jeff Merkley, Patty Murray, and Tammy Baldwin. In the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, Louis Gutierrez, John Conyers, Charles Rangel, Marcy Kaptur, Peter DeFazio, Sheila Lee Jackson, Jim McDermott, and many, many more. But those are some of the names you may know. They are connected.
Yeah, and the thing about Sherrod Brown, he is our Ohio senator, and so we know about him more than most people that might be listening to us right now. And I will tell you, he is a total NPC drone that was programmed by Karl Marx himself, or somebody that is very familiar with the manifesto. I mean, the guy is like a robot that just spits out communist lines, like talking points. And it's mind-blowing that such a conservative state doesn't see through that. But you'll never see him wearing anything except for his blue button-up shirt, because it tricks people into thinking subconsciously that he's somehow for the worker because it's a blue collar. It actually has a blue collar.
I'm a blue-collar worker, Kerry.
And it's funny because he does this gravelly voice, like he's just got out of the coal mine.
Right.
I just got done sucking down my last cigar after about 20 of them today, and I'm on my third glass of bourbon on the rocks, and got my blue collar on. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm fighting for you guys. I'm fighting for you. That's Sherrod Brown.
He's pulled it off so well.
Gosh, it's
that we elected a Republican governor.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the Senate.
The other senators, Portman.
Right. But the senator that goes to the Hill to represent us, we elected Sherrod Brown.
It's weird. It's weird.
Rob Portman, Republican.
Yeah, it's an at-large position, senator, which means everybody in the state of Ohio votes for it. That means every single voter who voted for Donald Trump, that's a 9-point advantage over Clinton. So Trump wins the state of Ohio by 9 points. The same group of voters voted in a full-blown communist drone, because Sherrod Brown.
Because he plays it off so well.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to fight for you. We're working for the people and the little people. We're going to build the middle class. And
got to get my cough medicine. I have Grandpa's cough medicine.
Yeah, Grandpa's cough medicine. Hold on. My voice is starting to get cleared up. I need to get another cigar. suck on that for a while. It's like, good. Yeah, and it's always a blue shirt. Check it out. Look him up. I challenge anybody to show me a photograph of Sherrod Brown, or Sherrod Brown is what they call him.
Whatever.
Sherrod Brown.
Sherrod Brown.
Somebody find a photograph of him wearing anything other than that goofy blue button-up shirt. But anyway.
And so more of the communist socialists, they are full-blown, out in the open, die in the wool. These new Democrats that are coming out, and I'm happy. I'm happy that the new Democrats that have been newly elected are not hiding their colors. They are absolutely, because they've been gaslit so much, and this has been their entire lifestyle. So why would I hide who I am? And that's where you got Ocasio-Cortez going after the higher ups in the Democrat Party who know the rules. And the rule is, rule number one, you don't talk about Fight Club.
Right. But that's kind of changing now, right?
That's definitely changing because they gaslit them so bad, so long, and so much that this Green Deal is really making headway. And I love talking about it.
It's mind-blowing. We used to get angry on our show about stuff like this. Remember how angry we both were when we read line by line the second Bill of Rights written by FDR, and actually his farewell address was him reading off his new second Bill of Rights, which, according to Mark Levin, who actually originally alerted me to this thing, because obviously they buried it in history because of the Cold War. I mean, this was way back in the 30s that he wrote this thing. So here we have the whole entirety of the Cold War. The leftists in academia and also in the mainstream media have just conveniently forgot about how much of a communist FDR must have been to write something that's basically stolen, plagiarized by of Karl Marx, the plagiarism of Karl Marx. And you see that in the new Green Deal, or the Green New Deal. Is it Green New Deal, or I guess Green New Deal, because they want to try to capitalize off the New Deal phraseology, which is
right. There was a deal, there was a New Deal, and then there was a New Deal.
Yeah.
And so something else that I wanted to point out, they also like to hide the fact that our first communist president, Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah. They hide that.
Cannot let that out.
Full-blown communist.
So this by @Gob Alberto, BOL on Twitter. He says, Socialist AOC discusses how people should reconsider having children due to global warming, and reminds us that we are all going to literally die if the Green New Deal doesn't pass. She also takes some shots at Dianne Feinstein. Side note, she failed to compost her potatoes. So she is a millennial, and she's taken to social media all her life, been in social media. And so she's finding it very convenient and garnering tons of her scope that she did. 453,000 views, almost 500,000 views on her scope.
Okay.
Whereas a year ago probably would garner 5.
She's the E-celeb.
Yeah, she's definitely.
And some people say, Gary, why would you call a sitting U.S. Congresswoman an E-celeb? Of course she's going to get big numbers when she goes live. She's a congressperson. Well, guess what? For many, many years, Jim Jordan would not have gotten these numbers.
No.
Never.
Right.
If he went live right now, he wouldn't get those numbers. So she is definitely earned her status as E-celeb.
Yes,
regardless of the fact that she is also a congressperson.
Right. So here, just listen to her, and I want your comment, what you think about as she talks, as she's making dinner or making something. She's cutting up potatoes in her kitchen, and she's scoping.
Our planet is going to face disaster if we don't turn this ship around. And so it's basically like there's scientific consensus that the lives of children are going to be very difficult. And it does lead, I think, young people to have a legitimate question. You know, is it okay to still have children? And I mean, not just financially, because people are graduating with $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 worth of student loan debt. And so they can't even afford to have kids in a house. But also just this basic moral question, like what do we do? And even if you don't have kids, there are still children here in the world, and we have a moral obligation to them to leave a better world for them. And this idea that if we just, I've been working on this for X amount of years, it's like not good enough. Like we need a universal sense of urgency, and people are trying to like introduce watered down proposals that are frankly going to kill us. A lack of urgency is going to kill us. It doesn't matter if you agree that climate change is an important issue. At this point, it doesn't matter. If you believe climate change is a problem, that's not even the issue. The issue is how urgently you feel we need to fix it. And if you do not have a sense of urgency to try to turn this around in 10 years.
It sounded to me like her justification was not that we want to have less people on Earth, but that we shouldn't have children to subject them to the horrors of the Earth going forward. So it wasn't about saving the Earth by not having children. It was about saving the children from having to see this.
Okay. Let me just put this out there, and I'm telling on myself a little bit, but going back in my 20s,
okay. Mm-hmm.
Throughout the decade of my 20s, I believed, I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was media, if it was TV. Something was put in me that said, I do not want to bring children into a world like this of all this bad stuff.
Well, I have a confession.
But I was
never thought that. Ever.
Right. Okay, but I was in my 20s at the time, residing to be single. I'm whatever. I'm just going to
But that was your justification?
Wasn't going to get married. I don't know. Something said, something in me thought that.
When we were Gen X, we were abused as
abused
psychologically.
Yeah.
Psychologically told that if you have children, your life is over. They would use that exact language. It wasn't just my dad. For whatever reason, baby boomers said you do not ever want to have kids because as soon as you do, your life is over. They would say that.
Maybe that's where I got it from that.
And so my justification for not wanting to have kids is I didn't want my life to end.
I could see that. And for those of you out there on the West Coast and you're becoming parents for the very first time in your late 40s.
What? That's way late.
That's very, very common.
Oh.
Because that's what they teach out there. It's about you, and you're not going to have your freedoms. And
a life of that includes raising kids is so awesome. It's fun. It's awesome. And I actually regret not doing it when I had more energy and I was like, jump out of bed and, I could actually play with the kids where now it's like, hold on.
Yeah, let me get the cranks out. Let me get the kinks out. Yeah.
I'll lay on the living room floor and have my daughter walk on my back just to make me just kind of give me a massage. Just walk on my back for a little while. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Didn't have that problem when I was in my 20s. So,
well, and I can see our parents now. Your dad had 4 kids. My dad had 4 kids.
They were babies. My parents were literal children when they had kids.
Right. And so now my father's in his 70s and your dad's in his 60s. And I can see how, even with our moms, that all the attention that they get from their adult children
interesting.
It's got to be
very fulfilling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, both our
and then
fathers
they get to play with the grandchildren. If you have kids too late in life, you're going to be very old by the time you get adults, and by the time you have grandchildren, you'll be dead.
Right. And I'm extremely thankful for how my mom and dad have been incredible grandparents to my kids.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I'm really happy about that. But going back to this crazy nonsense, in California, on the radio, not uncommon to hear on talk radio, to hear an article or somebody interview somebody about lefty, crazy couples, whether it be a husband and wife or just a single woman, talk about sterilization.
Oh my gosh.
And how proud I am.
Don't do it.
To sterilize myself as a woman. So now I have the feel goodness that I'm contributing to stopping global warming by sterilizing myself?
Well, to each his own, but I call Darwin Awards myself.
Oh, no, I say that's a good one that probably shouldn't be having kids. Yeah, no, I'm with
Darwin Awards. So for those of you that are unaware of what the Darwin Awards are, it was actually a website. It would surprise me to find out that it's not still active. I'm sure it still is, but it basically is a celebration
of stupidity.
where somebody would do something, make an action or do something, make a decision that would end their ability to pass on their genes, whether it's end up in their own death or in their own dismemberment or something that prevents, or in some cases, do something that puts them in prison in a way that would make it impossible, like life in prison or something like that. And I gotta say, chopping off whatever in order to prevent yourself from doing that. Darwin Awards right there.
Absolutely. And not only that, but the most famous Darwin Award that I remember is a military personnel in the Air Force stole a rocket, attached it to his car, lit it, and landed in the side of a mountain. I don't know how
knew about that.
Yeah, I don't know how true that is.
So it's turned into a legend.
Yes.
So the JATO bottles.
Right.
Where you they're designed to, you put them on a C-130. And it's
fully loaded and fully fueled.
It enables a C-130 to do a short takeoff.
Yes.
Get off the ground in a very, very limited space. It basically turns it into a rocket. Well, somebody that works on them decided, I'm going to strap these to my station wagon.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a station wagon too. So he bolted them things to it, started driving down the highway in the middle of the desert.
He was out in the desert.
Yeah. So he had a long straightaway and he's like, I'm going to get this thing up to speed. Lit it up. They say he got into the 400 miles an hour range.
Hit the side of a mountain, exploded, and probably
he may have died before he hit the mountain.
G-forces alone would have knocked him out. He would have
because you could be in a fully loaded C-130, and when you hit those JATO bottles, it actually. I don't know. I wasn't in one that did that, but I seen them take off. You'd actually YouTube it.
Right.
The C-130 short takeoff. STO. C-130. Look that up.
So real quick, this by the Washington Free Beacon, a study by the American Action Forum offers a conservative estimate of the cost associated with the Green New Deal.
Okay, this has got to be pretty expensive.
The forum calculated guaranteed green housing would cost between $1.6 trillion, $4.2 trillion.
Guaranteed green housing, okay.
Federal jobs, $6.8 trillion. And $44.6 trillion.
That's huge. That's unaffordable. That's
a net zero emission transportation system between 1.3 trillion and 2.7 trillion. A low carbon electricity grid, 5.4 trillion, and food security, 1.5 billion. Enough high speed rail to make air travel unnecessarily. 1.1 to 2.5 trillion. Universal health care.
And that doesn't take into consideration the reduction in the quality of life for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Universal health care would cost $36 trillion over 10 years, totaling $260,000 per household. So this is a total of...
Hardly anybody makes that kind of money.
Well, that's $260,000 over a 10-year span.
Per year or
per household? Per household. It would cost all of it, because the total bill, $94 trillion.
That's definitely an unimaginable. I mean, we won't, just saying it is not going to do it justice. I mean, the $5 to $20 billion required to build the wall is hundreds of times.
Okay, just real quick, this is one of the best.
Thousands of times less.
Now, this is one of the best short clip videos I've seen on how to understand what just $1 trillion, not 94. What $1 trillion will do. And for those of you on audio only, I'll read it off as it goes through. But check this out. How much is $1 trillion? How much is $1 trillion? $1 bill, end to end, would go from Earth to the moon 200 times.
That was $1 trillion $1 bills. Okay.
$1 trillion $1 bills laid in would go almost to the sun.
Wow.
If you spent $1 million a day since Jesus Christ's birth, it would only be $787 billion.
Wow.
Oh, come on, man. Okay, here we go. $10,000 pack. This would fit in your purse of $100 bills. A pack of $10,000 fit in your purse. $1 million or $100,000, you could probably hold in two hands.
$1 million.
You could put in a backpack $1 million, a small carry-on or a backpack.
And these are $100 bills.
Yeah, these are $100 bills. This is a skid. If you ever seen those wooden skids at work, this is a wooden skid stacked up to a guy's neck in 10,000 packs of $100 bills. And that stack would be $100 million. $100 million on that pallet.
You would need a forklift to move that around.
Right. Now, this would fit in the back of an 18-wheeler. It's 10 pallets of $100,000, and you would have to have an 18-wheeler.
$1 billion.
So if you wanted somebody to pay you $1 billion, you would need an 18-wheeler.
Yes.
Okay.
How much is 1 trillion? It's a million. It's 1,000 billion.
You would need 1,000 trail trucks, 18-wheelers to wheel that around.
Right. It's 1 followed by 12 zeros.
Oh my gosh.
It's double stacked pallets. The size beyond a football field.
You would need nearly 1,000 18-wheelers to move it around.
Right. At $1 per second, how long would it take you to spend $1 million? They say pay back.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much time if you spend $1 per second? $1 million would take you 11 and a half days.
Okay.
Per second, dollar per second. So if you had to pay back at $1 a day, $1 billion per second, it'd be 32 years.
We need a higher rate. We need a faster rate.
$1 per second. How long would it take to pay back?
$1 trillion.
And he's doing this for the debt. This was an older one done for the debt. Mm-hmm. To pay back $1 trillion at $1 per second, it would take you 31,688 years.
Now imagine 90 trillion. You'd have to multiply that by 90, which would be like a couple million years.
Yes.
A couple million years.
Yeah, it's not. It's complete insanity. And I know there's some people out there that say, we got to stop talking about it. Casey Ocasio, stop talking about it. No. We need to talk about her all the time. I want her to be the most famous person of communism.
Well, it used to be
ever.
that she was just doing, this charming, young, good-looking. She's an attractive woman. She was just doing this shtick, and it was going to work for her. It was going to win her election every 2 years, and that was going to be fine. And that whenever she comes out and displays a very ignorant or dumb behavior, I guess, that the media was going to cover for her, and that we should be careful not to slam dunk on her. Right. I've been told by very high level people, we are not slam dunking on AOC every day because we don't want her to get too popular. But she's coming straight out. She's coming out.
I don't care what they say. I don't care what anybody says. I want her to be the most popular congressperson in the history of congresspeople.
She is so big-headed, and so what was that she said? Well, I'm the boss. If you want to do it, you do it. Which is funny because it's actually brilliant. By her saying the reason we're doing this is because y'all ain't doing nothing. You've done nothing. You're not doing anything. It's us doing things. If you think you got a better solution, then let's see it. You haven't done anything. You're not doing anything, and so you need to sit down and shut up because we're in charge. It's brilliant because that everything that I just said there assumes that there is a problem that needs to be addressed. It's a false premise. The problem doesn't exist. The solution is unnecessary. And here she is coming out and talking like that. She's making it sound like that there's this big problem that needs to be solved, and we are so negligent by not coming up with something. And that's not true.
Right. Her being gaslit and now continuing to spew propaganda that to her gaslit supporters. We're running out of time, so I don't have time to play the clip. But it looked like maybe 100 youths that have been gaslit showed up at Mitch McConnell's office to confront him over the Green New Deal. I saw it because Don Jr. retweeted it, and Don Jr. said, that's weird. I figured that they would be happy that he's willing to bring to the Senate floor a vote the Green New Deal, which he's doing. And it's funny because it'll expose the Democrats for who they are. These activists were told by the police, this is your last warning. Apparently, it is illegal to protest or, hold signs in the building. They were all zip-tied, handcuffed, and walked out. And as they were walking out, they were singing the songs of yesteryears,
All right.
Solidarity.
All right.
They're totally gaslit.
Wow. Brainwashed, basically. And it's a shame. It's a shame. They're being told this their whole life. Parents, first of all, if you allowed this to happen to your child, shame on you. I was so worried about it happening to my daughter. I just talked to her. I tell her, I'm saying, hey, listen, you're going to hear about global warming, climate change. They may even, and certainly it turns out 100% chance that they're going to scare you into thinking that the world's going to end. I pointed out on Facebook and on Twitter that this is child abuse. It is child abuse to scare children into thinking that our Earth is not going to be habitable in 12 years. I mean, guys, do you remember what it was like being a child? Let me tell you what it was like for me. My mom is still alive and well and healthy and everything's good. Knock on wood. But when I was in my junior high, I remember seeing all these commercials about how cigarettes will kill you, and they do. It causes cancer. But as a junior high kid, I remember freaking out, thinking that before I graduated high school, my mom was most likely going to die.
Hold on.
Most likely.
What about the commercials and the advertisements that showed, and I'm not saying that this stuff isn't bad for you, but the dip, the skull dip, we were bombarded.
Yeah.
With all the people with the face cancer.
Right. And I don't want to get off on a tangent.
But they don't do that anymore.
I'm not doubting that stuff happens. And I'm certainly not doubting that you will die of lung cancer eventually if you smoke long enough. But my point is this. As a child, I just thought, oh my gosh, my mom is literally going to be dead in a couple of years. I'm not going to have a mom, and I'm freaking out. So what does that do to a kid that same age who's being told that 12 years, it's over? Do you remember the sunscreen ozone layer stuff?
Yeah.
We were like slathering on sunscreen because the ozone layer was gone. It was depleting, or it was still there, but
there's a hole in it somewhere.
Yeah, there was a hole. It turns out the hole is a natural phenomenon. It's always been there. And we didn't create the hole.
Right. My stepbrother, who's a couple years older than me, did that exact same thing to his mom about freaking out about smoking.
Yeah.
And she never quit.
Mm-hmm.
Then when she met my father, my dad's like, yeah, you're going to have to give that up. And she's like, I've been wanting to quit for a long time anyways. But my point is that her son had to live for years and years and years knowing his mother could die at any moment.
At any moment. They believe that. They believe that because that's what children don't think the really long term. They're thinking short term. When they're told in 12 years it's over, they start to do the math. Well, I'm 10 years old. In 12 years, I'll only be 22. That's not long enough to live. And we're going to be burning up and just walking outside on fire. I remember feeling the same thing when we were told about the ozone layer.
Right. And not to say that smoking's not bad for you. Don't smoke. I don't smoke, whatever. But just anecdotal, my uncle died in his 70s, smoked a pack of cigarettes every day from high school. Mm-hmm. My grandfather.
You can die and you will die eventually.
Chewed tobacco, died in his 90s. I mean, it's not healthy for you. Don't do it. But you ain't dying tomorrow from
right.
If you
this is
light
probably
up,
a bad example because now we're almost making the argument that the Earth is going to definitely burn up in incineration.
It will.
We're all going to catch on fire and blow up, and we're all going to die. But it's going to be further down the road than you think.
No,
we don't need to worry about it. No, it's fake news.
Right.
It's definitely a hoax.
Now,
and it's fake science.
Now, there was a report in 2012, and the only reason why I remember this is because my millennial saw it on Facebook, and apparently Facebook still circulates news that's ancient old.
Okay.
And did you know we were going to die?
Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to die.
There's an asteroid that came between the moon and Earth.
That's right. I remember the panic attacks back in the 90s when there was an asteroid that was going to end Earth.
Haley's Comet?
Well, that was in the 80s.
What about that? Oh, yeah.
Well, we knew that wasn't going to hit Earth.
Okay.
It was just a phenomenon that we were going to be able to see it.
It was those people dressed up in jumpsuits and white gym shoes and killed themselves to get on Haley Comet.
Oh, was that Jonestown or something? Something like that. I don't know.
So real quick, here's some more stuff about the left and their hypocrisy. Bernie Sanders, CNN town hall event. Of course I'm going to raise your taxes. We got to pay for this somehow.
Well, $90 trillion. I mean, who's going to pay that back?
And he's rerunning the old script. The wealthy shall pay their fair share.
Yeah, because if we just tax the wealthy, they have so much money that they'll be able to pay for all of us to do everything. That's literally the argument they're making.
Yes.
And it's totally, this is so demonstrably false that even they know it's fake. They're basically using like this populist message to get enough votes to gain power so that they can have power, that they can have the legalized corruption that enables them to enrich themselves by contributing nothing to society.
Nothing whatsoever.
That's what a leftist is.
Right. So Politico running ads, folks, you gotta keep your eyes open for some of this stuff. These left-leaning tabloids, these ragtags, CNN, fake news, are now coming out against certain Democrats.
Oh, interesting.
Politico, Clinton staffer slam Bernie Sanders over private jet flights. The Vermont senator 2016 travel as a Clinton surrogate became a running joke in the office. And after the election, he continued private jet flights in the tune of $342,000.
This was a Clinton staffer?
Yeah,
wow.
That came out. It's the name is not being released. It's a people familiar with the situation. It's okay, whatever.
Okay, all right.
And so this individual goes on and slams Bernie Sanders through the whole article. It's a huge, long article, and towards the end, it gets a from Ariana Jones, Sanders' spokesperson. She says, Senator Sanders campaign so aggressively for Secretary Clinton at such a grueling pace, it became a story unto itself, setting a model for how the former opponent can support a nominee in a general election. So she goes on to say, and she does a very good job, and they actually quote her really well to make it look like, because we know the last 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's crunch time.
That and Clinton where was she?
Nowhere. So they were relying on Sanders?
100%.
That's funny.
So
I never knew that.
The last 3 months, she says that he held 39 rallies in 13
That's
states.
Because he's the only one that could garner any attendees.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
13 states, including 17 events in 11 states in the last week alone.
All for Clinton. I'm actually surprised that happened. First of all, we never heard about it.
No.
And second of all, we kind of got the feeling from the Bernie burn people.
Feel the burn
people that they were just so disenfranchised. They were so angry. A lot of them ended up just totally jumping ship and voting for and supporting Trump. So I'm actually surprised to hear that there was no more of a backlash, that he would be out campaigning so aggressively for Hillary Clinton. Now, you're saying that this also cost a lot of money. Obviously, campaign stuff. It's not like he was going to Rome for vacation on campaign dollars. It sounds like he was actually campaigning, but it is funny.
Yeah, he refused to fly commercial. It all had to be a private jet setting. And
he's not like Carter, who will show up and coach.
Right.
And that's no joke.
Right.
You may run into former President Jimmy Carter in coach at some point.
Because nobody would. No, it's just Carter.
Bro.
Yeah. But they did quote Robbie Mook, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign lead. And Robbie Mook, I summarize, Robbie Mook said, well, we didn't want to rock the boat, and we needed Sanders on board. And that's pretty much, you just got to let it go.
You just got to basically say, where do you want to go? What do you want to say? Who do you want to speak to? How long do you want to speak? And what kind of accommodations would you like? And then the sky's the limit.
Because he could bring the crowds.
That's a little scary because I think he's going to run in 2020, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But I think that he lost too much of his base. I mean, the whole thing that he's pushing falls on deaf ears when you consider that he doesn't practice what he preaches.
No, absolutely not. Not at all. It's but we've got technology, we've got new news media, New Right Network, folks. This is where you get your real news, your real information right here. And we've got technology at our fingertips to expose the leftists every single day, Monday through Friday, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And you can also donate to us at patreon.com/SmithRadio. And also follow us on Smyth.tv, where you can also click on the donate buttons. And we're asking for it because, we're just doing this for fun, but we need to keep it going and sustain ourselves in order to bring you real news.
Right. That's
why
agenda.
we ask for it.
Yes, the agenda is to get you the real news. We've got to save this country, and if we don't do it, who will?
Exactly. So, again, 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Absolutely. Have a good night, folks.
See you guys.